Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Molly Loring, and I live in Charleston, South Carolina. And the policy that I would like to see a change in is banning the usage of single-use plastics in the South Carolina area and hopefully globally. Um, but the policy change agent that I would use is the director of the SCDES, which is the South Carolina Department of Environmental Services, and that the director is currently Myra Reese. And according to the des.sc.gov in the article under Myra Reese, interim director slash SCDES, she oversees the bureaus of air quality, coastal management, land and waste management, and water. And she works directly with state and federal agencies as well as local governments. Um, and I'll use her to implement my policy and help facilitate a change. And the first article that I used is from www.notgeokids.com and an article written by Allison Shaw. It's named The Problem with Plastic Pollution. And the National Geographic Network is an educational society that's committed to exploration, education, geography, and conservation. And according to this article, when plastics break down in the ocean, it doesn't just break down completely, it ends up being swallowed by fish and other marine animals over time, as well as over 700 million species of marine animals have been reported to have eaten or been entangled in plastic. And the next source that I used to back up my claim is an article written by Courtney Lindwall. It's named Single Use Plastics 101 and retrieved from the NRDC.org, which stands for the Natural Resources Defense Council. And they're an environmental advocacy group and an international nonprofit organization, and they strive to protect the environment and confront the climate crisis that's happening. And according to this article, many chemicals in plastics are known endocrine disruptors, and research has suggested that human exposure to them could lead to hormonal imbalances, reproductive issues, as well as infertility and even cancer. And this article contains lots of information on what single use plastics are, why they're bad for our environment, the health risks of plastics, as well as why we should or should not ban single use plastics and the effect that it would have on our economy and our culture. And according to the worldwildlife.org and an article named Plastic in the Ocean, written by Lauren Hancock in 2019, every minute a dump truck load of plastic goes into the oceans, selling beaches, hurting wildlife, contaminating our food supply. And this article also made a 7-plan step to help avoid getting plastic in the ocean and just everyday steps that each and every one of us can make. Um, and these steps are to one, plan ahead and make sure to bring a water bottle when you go to the beach to make sure you don't have to buy another one and just keep the plastic waste to a minimum. The second one is donate unwanted plastic. 3, to use and reuse plastic until you can't do it anymore. To 4, recycle smart. 5, clean up your neighborhood. Whenever you go anywhere, if there's trash on the ground, pick it up. 6, look at labels and packaging from whatever you buy. And 7 is to advocate for change. And the last article is retrieved from the environmentalamerica.org, and it's named The Plastics Effects on Our Health and Environment. And it's written by Luke Metzinger, who's the executive director of the Environmental Texas Research and Policy Center. And this article goes through the effects of plastic on human health and wildlife. And according to this article, zooplankton were found to be regularly consuming plastic. In turn, they are eaten, and this transfers plastic into our food web and into any of the seafood that we eat and that we ingest, and that any other marine animals or land animals, anything are eaten. And it's pretty much gone into our entire food system and our food web. But for these reasons, I believe that there should be a policy put in place to ban the use of single-use plastics, even if that just starts, sorry, even if that starts with just plastic bags, plastic straws, which are two of the main resources of plastic pollution found in the oceans of even Charleston. I find all of that stuff and cigarette butts on the beach pretty much every day I go out there, and it's really sad to see. So that is why I'd like this policy to be put in place. Um, but thank you. Do y'all have any questions?
Does the South Carolina Department of Environmental, what was it called? Is that the newly created one? Because I remember there was something that was newly created. Is that the newly created one?
No,
Or
it's not newly created. It's been around for a while. I'm not exactly sure what the newly created one is, but yeah, it's the SCDES and it's been around for a little while.
thank
But yeah.
you.
So I know you mentioned that a lot of the time these like the plastics they end up in our food, like in our different food systems.
Mhm.
You're probably referring to like microplastics, right? Like kind of
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
super small stuff that ends up
Yeah,
kind
it's the microplastics like that break down in the ocean and then get
of
ingested in stuff like
what
zooplankton.
and like what kind of problems does that typically cause for us? Like having that in our food and in our bodies over time.
Yeah, no, like I stated earlier, like it can really lead to like hormonal imbalances and even like digestive issues. And I also looked at another article that I don't have the source of, but it can get into your brain too. It can mess up like the like cells in your brain, I guess. And it's just led to a bunch of different health issues over time, which has gotten really bad. Definitely recently too. Yeah.
So I had someone present, today's Friday, so I guess this was Wednesday. So I have to think about what days I had presentations. She presented on Wednesday and she looked specifically similar policy, but specifically at like Hilton Head. And she said something that
Yeah.
surprised me. She said that Hilton Head does not have any like littering laws that prevent it. And as you were talking, it kind of made me think like I've been to Folly
Yeah.
of times, but do you know if there's any littering laws like out at Folly and stuff?
Yeah, it is like there's littering like fines and stuff. Like if you're caught littering and stuff, there's like different types of fines I know on Folly, but I'm not completely positive there's like technically a law around it, but um all I know about is the fines though. I didn't look too much into I know Folly or anything. It's just kind of like the common courtesy, but it's really not followed a lot.
Yeah, because I was thinking about it, we were talking about it. I said, when I lived in South Carolina, we preferred to go down to Folly because it was cleaner than going out to like Myrtle.
Yeah, yeah.
So just maybe think about like Myrtle definitely doesn't have any, they have
Mm-mm.
fines, but there's no laws, and apparently Hilton Head
Yeah.
doesn't
I
either.
think Folly is
Thought
the
that was
same way as that. Yeah, but I think it's just kind of the community at Folly is like I think a little bit better at cleaning up at least, especially compared to Myrtle, which is a lot more crowded too. So yeah, makes a
yeah,
big
I
difference.
agree. But
Um,
yet another reason I preferred it.
do you know of any groups we could follow to like who want the same change?
Um, I just know about some local ones that I'm in. Like there's the women's gosh, what's it called? It's surfers. Gosh, I would have to look it up. If you look up like a Folly surfer group, though, I know there's a big one that both of my parents are a part of, and they just do like a bunch of big beach sweeps and stuff like that. But I know there's a bunch of different like groups and stuff around Charleston, but that's the only big one that I know of.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, I think you're good to stop your recording.
Okay. Thank you guys so much.